news and information to get you ready for today's game.
Into the end zone, touchdown!
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, Yucatan Guacamole, and by EverBank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Well, here we go again, but this time comes with expectations. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars' 5-game run to the playoffs energized both the team and the fan base last season, and then the come-from-behind win over Los Angeles supercharged them before Kansas City flipped the switch. Now a team that's been there and done that is back for more, and this time they plan to get it. Hello and welcome, everybody. Brian Sexton with you from AT&T Stadium and back at the Hyundai Studios in Jacksonville. He is my partner, Mike Dempsey. It's the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Cowboys and Jaguars coming up this afternoon, 5 o'clock at AT&T Stadium here in Dallas. Hello, Mike. How are you?
Brian, I'm very well. Good afternoon. Hope things are well in Big D and ready to get this, what we hope to be a very fulfilling season underway.
Absolutely. Let me leave you with this, though. No matter where you are or what you're doing in Jacksonville today, you're probably 10 degrees cooler than it is here in Texas. They play indoors, which is a blessing because right now it's 102, headed to 108. So that should make everybody back in Jacksonville in North Florida feel just a little bit better.
Well, our real field temperature today was 104 to 114. So I don't know what feels better, but put it this way, anytime it gets to triple digits, we're all miserable.
You're not going to tell you. You, of all people, are ready for this season. I saw you on the practice field the other day, and I almost didn't recognize you. Folks, if you haven't seen the svelte Mike Dempsey, you look like you're in great shape, pal.
Well,
congratulations.
Thank you. Don't get fat, kids. And you won't have to worry about how to lose all that weight. So
all right.
Thank you, Brian.
How about a couple of observations for you from training camp before we kick it in and give the big stories of today?
Sure. I mean, look, the offense looks fantastic, right? The skill position group has got every Jaguar fan, I think, media member, anyone who wants this team to succeed is very excited about the potential of this offense, maybe being a top 5 group overall in the National Football League. You love to hear Doug Peterson raving about what he's seeing from Trevor Lawrence because we're seeing that with our own eyes. There's just something about his presence out there on the practice field, Brian, that gives you the confidence that this team can go really deep. I mean, he is coming into his own. Trevor was last year in the second half of the season with the 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in the final 9 games. That's the quarterback we expected him to grow into. Now, can he start the season that way? The early returns from training camp look pretty promising. Defensively, very hard to tell, and I think you'd agree. You don't have enough contact scenarios there to really know when you're going full speed. I think today will be a good test. I'm interested to see if anybody, and I don't care if they're going up against first or second teamers, and Dallas is not playing their starters today, but can we get some pressure on the Dallas quarterbacks? This is going to be one of the main storylines. It has been all throughout the offseason. Do they have enough at the outside linebacker positions and edge rushers to get after opposing quarterbacks more than they did last year when they only got 35 sacks? It's going to be one of the keys to whether or not this team can make a deep playoff run this year.
Mike, you are a talented professional radio guy. You are leading me right to the top story here, and that is something that years ago we would have never discussed. Are you going to play your starters in the preseason opener? It used to be that's the way you did it, and you'll listen as Doug Peterson almost has to defend the decision to do what Mike just said, get guys on the field so he can get a good look with only 3 preseason games.
Excitement around a game. Don't plan on playing them long at all, but just want to get them in, get them out, and but yet still get some quality work in.
Yeah, the coaches want work, Brian. I think, from a fan's perspective, it's a catch-22 in the preseason, right? When the starters aren't playing, you're like kind of ho-hum. I know it's important, but it's not necessarily compelling. But then when they're in there, you're thinking, get them out as quickly as possible, right? Especially when these guys have looked good on the practice field. I would take delivering this Jaguars offense to opening day right now. But look, we trust in Doug Peterson because he came in and he showed us with the pedigree that he had. You had reason to believe that he knew what he was doing, obviously, as a Super Bowl champion. But winning the division in his first year here, turning things around, I think no matter what approach he takes, most Jaguar fans and supporters are willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, including on a decision on how much to play these guys in the preseason.
We trust Doug. Doug trusts his quarterback, and his quarterback is ready for action.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're going to talk about, and it's kind of whatever coach wants to do. And obviously, I think it's valuable to get some reps, and especially got a few new pieces, get some live game reps where it is full speed, it's full contact. There's something on the line. I think that's definitely valuable. Who knows how much that'll be? Whatever it is, I'll be ready. And you just want to be clean. You want to execute. You want your offense to look sharp. You want to make the plays. You want to be smart, do all that stuff, and just be clean. I think that's the main objective. Obviously, to play well too, but that's the same thing for whether it's the starters or whoever's in there, to play well and execute our offense. Just like we're doing out here, just carry that over to a different opponent and go win the game. So however much that is, I don't know the details on that yet, but we'll be ready.
And, Brian, I may have lost a few pounds. Trevor looked like he gained a few pounds of muscle this offseason, right? I mean, he really looks sturdy, in command. I think he's coming to his own in terms of being comfortable. Second year in the same offense is going to be big. But when he talked about being clean, let's not see a bunch of silly penalties here. This is a test of how well this team has been drilled to go out and perform. That doesn't mean they're going to pick up 15 yards on every play today, even if they're going against Dallas's backups. But the things that are within your control, Trevor Lawrence is talking about, are we going to control those? Because, we've got questions on the offensive line. You can't compound some inexperience up front with unnecessary penalties. We'll see if they can do that today.
You can see the confidence in the way that he throws the football, in the way that he manages practice. I mean, more so than even Doug or Press, he's telling guys where he wants them and what he wants to get done. And obviously bringing Calvin Ridley in gives him a different level of confidence. But one of the big stories of this summer was getting Evan Ingram back, and Ingram told me he's more than excited to be here for another year with Trevor.
Thinking about where we were last camp to now, we're always going to want to improve, but just vast improvement. Playing a little bit more swag, we're playing with a little bit more freedom. Coaches kind of adding on more layers to our foundation, and we're making plays. Guys are making plays. Guys are getting acclimated. We're making mistakes that one-time mistakes that will come with even year 2 or year 3 in the system. So love where we're at. There's a lot of room to get better, and the sky's the limit for what we can be as a team, and especially offense.
So easy to forget about Evan Ingram, Brian, with the focus on Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones looking fantastic. Christian Kirk, those top 3 receivers are so compelling to watch on the practice field that sometimes I forget that Evan Ingram's out there, but he's a big part of what they did. Had the most successful receiving season, with the exception of the touchdown department, of any tight end in Jaguar history last year. And it's just one of the array of weapons that the Jags have. And I love the fact that he's so excited to be back in Jacksonville. You heard Calvin Ridley really just go on and on about how happy he has been in his brief time here. This is going to become a destination for free agents around the National Football League, particularly skilled players who want to play with an up-and-coming quarterback like Trevor Lawrence and an offensive-minded head coach like Doug Peterson.
Mike, we don't record the production meetings for preseason television, but I wish I could play for you Calvin Ridley from last night's meeting. He was better than he's been on Jacksonville. He was amazing. So if he's excited and Trevor's excited, there's a lot of reasons for the Jaguars to be excited about where this offense can go this year. Let's flip it to the defense. And I don't know whether you saw the story, but Randy Mueller, the former general manager of the Vikings and the Seahawks, wrote this summer in a synopsis of the AFC South that he thought the Jaguars had the most difficult to block players in the NFL, the most different players who were difficult to account for. He said it hadn't shown up yet in the stats, but when you just look at individual guys, there is a wealth of talent on the defense, which is an area of distinct need for improvement this year. I caught up with Rayshawn Jenkins, who agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. We got guys like that just play just multiple positions. You got D. Lloyd, he can play the dime, Wheat backer, Mike backer. You got me. You got Andre Cisco. You got our new guy, our new safety that just came in, Antonio Johnson. So it's just a lot of guys that can just be all over the field at different spots, and like you say, it's kind of unaccounted for sometimes.
Well, you got to put the recipe together, though, Brian. You got great ingredients, potentially, right, and some interesting players, some versatile players, and I think that's something that Rayshawn Jenkins was alluding to there. But We do need to see the stats. We do need to see this defense improve as a whole, and it's one thing to have individual talents. It's another to have them all come together and play to their potential. And in year 2 in Mike Caldwell's defense, I think there's a great opportunity there. Mike Caldwell was learning on the job as a first-time coordinator. The players are going to be more comfortable, particularly Devin Lloyd. We've been hearing a lot about how he's not thinking his way through. He's getting to the point now where he's comfortable in the defense. He's just going out there reading, reacting, and playing, and that can really be one of the areas where the Jaguars show the biggest improvement here in 2023.
And let's finish up with something you touched off the top, and that is the pass rush. Josh Allen talking about Mike Caldwell coming back for another year, mixing things up in his second year with his system, and was asked, as he has been relentlessly, what about the sacks?
Big points of emphasis was the pass rush. I think this year, we're putting a bigger emphasis on, putting us in a position to get in those positions to pass rush, early in the down. So I think we'd be able to capitalize off those plays early, especially in camp. Once the season comes, we can start feeling comfortable calling them, and that's what we want. There's a lot of new calls that I really like. I want to see them every week, because I think they'll really work for us. But in order to do that, we have to be successful out here running them. So, that's our the new calls, the new plays that benefits us. Let's take it up a little notch.
Brian, there are a lot of metrics that point to Josh Allen having a really successful pass rush year last year. I know a lot of us are fixated on sacks, but really high pressure rate, and all that is good. The Jags need to do a better job of converting that pressure into getting the quarterback on the ground. And they drafted Trayvon Walker, number 1 overall, in part to do just that. And they've got some young guys who are really unproven behind Allen and Walker at this point. You can even say in the sack department, Walker himself is unproven. So it'll be a great kind of litmus test this year to see if the Jags should have been more aggressive in approaching some defensive free agent pass rushers. They like the guys they have internally. We'll find out if they're right.
All right, Mike, those are the big storylines to start off hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show, and we'll have more coming up in the second hour, coming at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Time now, though, for the very first installment of the epic Come On Somebody. Here, folks, is 3 minutes of radio magic from our friend Emmanuel Talleyrand.
Guess who's back? Yes, sir! It's your boy. It's your big homie, your player partner, E to the T. And who am I representing? The AFC South Division champion Jacksonville Jaguars, of course. Like, duh. And this right here is a little something I like to call, Come On Somebody. That's where I, E to the T, allow you, the AFC South Division champions, to express yourselves on all things Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, this is how we're going to get started this year. Now, I get it. I understand. It's just preseason. But there's some significance to this preseason game. And it just makes me chuckle. Last season, the Cowboys came to the real Big D. And they took home a real big L. And myself and Jeff Prosser set the tone earlier that week as we had a verbal spat with those guys from 103 to the Ticket or the Fair or whatever they own out there. And it went a little something like this.
Why? Yeah. Okay, I get it. I know it's Duval County, but why? Who else, throws out the county?
You play in a stadium that sounds like it's a carnival. You play in Jerry's. I mean, does Chevy Chase drive in to start every game? Listen, that's a rallying cry for a very proud area of the country. They'd be happy for y'all to Dallas to ride on in here, get your ass whipped, and go home. I don't know what part of y'all thinks Dallas is anything other than the Cowboys. I really don't. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of nice burgs to go to, whether you're in Frisco or Fort Worth. I guess it's all great out there, but I don't know what the hell they do in Dallas other than play football.
How long they go to Houston?
I feel like I live in the best city in the world. I could get a job offer in Dallas or anywhere else, and I'd stay right where I am.
You stay there?
Listen, y'all keep it just how you are, because I'm about 20 minutes from the TP Stadium course. I'm about 25 minutes from the ocean. I am about 30 minutes from Amelia Island. I am, 40 minutes from St. Augustine. I can play the best golf course in the world, go to a fabulous restaurant, and spend the night on the beach. Enjoy Fort Worth, boys. Knock it out at Six Flags tonight.
What else is Jacksonville known for? What's number 2, you think?
Punching y'all in the face? And punch them in the face? We did.
He drops to throw. Looking, fires middle of the field, and that ball is picked off! It is picked off by Rayshawn Jenkins! He's running it back along the right sideline! That is going to be a touchdown! That is going to be a touchdown! The Jags are going to win it on a Rayshawn Jenkins pick six! Are you kidding me? How good is that?
The amount of joy that puts in my heart is more than brown water in the bud zone. And that's how we setting the tone this week. Our Jaguars are at Dallas for preseason game number 1, and we looking to come home with a dub. Come on, somebody.
And if that's his preseason opener, folks, just imagine what the regular season has in store for the 2023 season of Come On Somebody. Up next on the Publix Tailgate Show.
I just try to take in as much as I can from him. You know, while I have him, while I'm with him, I want to learn as much as I can. He's a dude who's been out there, who's done it.
Our rising young talent is this week's Baptist Health player interview. Plus, CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco. The Jaguars and Cowboys are less than 3 hours away, and you're enjoying the Publix Tailgate Show here on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes.
I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest, soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softy. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softy. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softy.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Hello, I'm Dan Fields. If you're in the market for a full-size 8-passenger SUV, look no further than the Defender 130. And with the Defender 90, the 110, and this 130, there's luxury in the right size for everyone. Right, Sammy?
Plus, when you buy or lease from Land Rover Jacksonville, you'll become a member of the Fields Amenities program with complimentary loaners, car washes, our cafe, and much more, all at no charge.
Welcome back to the Publix Tailgate Show from AT&T Stadium in Dallas and from the Hyundai Studios in Jacksonville. Brian Sexton and Mike Dempsey. Jaguars Cowboys coming your way. Kickoff time 5 o'clock Eastern from here in Dallas. And Mike, Every week we talk about ET, we talk about Come On Somebody, but your session with Pete Prisco is always insightful. How did you find the beginning went?
Well, I'll tell you, because Pete obviously has put out there publicly, he thinks the Jags are going to the Super Bowl and Trevor Lawrence is winning the MVP. So he's definitely bullish on this team. But, Pete is an observer of many camps, but was in camp for a couple of days about a week ago and wanted to get his observations and see if he thought this offense, in his eyes, looked as good as it's looked to everybody else. Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think the passing game is going to be dynamic. I mean, I really do. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a monster season. He looks so much more comfortable now than he did a year ago. He understands the concepts a lot better, which I think is so important. But I think it's the addition of Calvin Ridley. He's a game changer. He's a number one wide receiver, and what he'll do is help open up things for Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram in the middle of the field and get those one-on-one opportunities for Zay Jones on the outside. So it's the passing game. I think the passing game will be explosive and, provided the offensive line plays well, but I think the passing game has a chance to be one of the best in the NFL.
Well, you're leading right into my next question, Pete. What about the offensive line? Outside of Jacksonville, I think that is seen as a concern for this team. Nationally, a lot of people are pointing to that, a lot of question marks there. How do you feel about that group?
I don't see as much concern as maybe some of the other national guys, and here's why. I don't think people are giving Walker Little the credit he deserves. The last part of the season, he was really good. I think he's had a great training camp. And I think he's a different guy. He's much more confident over there. He understands what it takes. And I think the rookie right tackle, he'll have his normal rookie struggles, but he'll be fine. Sheriff's healthy. That's important for them. He wasn't healthy all year. He had the surgery after the season. And then the starting center is a bigger, stronger guy. They'll figure out left guard, whoever it is. They'll figure it out. But I think that's going to be a better group than it was a year ago.
Talking here with Pete Prisco as the Jags get ready to kick off the preseason with the Dallas Cowboys. Pete, defensively, 35 sacks for this team last year, and it's an area a lot of us pointed to that needed improvement in 2023. They lost Arden Key. They did bring back DeJuan Smoot, but no veteran free agent pass rusher joining this team. Is that a mistake?
No, I don't think it is, and here's why. You've invested so much into that pass rush. It's time. Trayvon Walker, first pick. Yeah, it's time. He's got to take his game to the next step. Josh Allen in his contract year, first-round pick, high first-round pick, got to take his game to the next step, next level. And then you got, Caleb on Chason. They keep raving about him, but we'll see. He's still a first-round pick. There's some pedigree there, so he's got to show up. And then I really like the Abdullah kid. I like him coming out. I think he's shown some stuff in training camp. I think he's got the potential to be a guy who can rotate in at times. And then you do get Smoot back at some point this season. So, no, I don't think that they needed to go out and get a veteran pass rusher. Those guys that they were talking about, guys like Justin Houston and Yannick Ngakoue, I mean, they can get by without having those guys. But you better have Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen take the next step forward. If they don't, it's a big problem.
And time will tell. I'm on the Justin Houston camp that they should have at least explored that move, but we will see. Hopefully they're right and I'm wrong. Pete, today, what are you looking for? What do you hope to see out of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, I want to see what happens with the offensive line, and particularly Harrison. I want to see if he, steps in there and it's seamless and he looks like he's a veteran and can he handle the speed of the NFL game. I know, he's not going to be handling starters, but he's going to be handling guys up front that he has to be able to, get adjusted to the speed of the game. And then on the defensive side, again, we always go back to the pass rush, and we want to see guys putting guys on the ground. It's not just the pressures, it's putting guys on the ground. So those are the two things I'm going to be looking for.
Want to see that first-team offense go right down the field, stick it in the end zone, Pete, and then get the heck out of Dodge for the day. How about that?
That would be the ideal scenario for any preseason game, Mike.
Well, let's see if they're able to do that, Brian. On the defensive side, it was interesting. Pete does not think that they should have gone out there and get a veteran pass rusher because it's time for these guys to show what they're capable of. My point would be, though, that they haven't shown that yet, and you're counting on something that you haven't seen, although the Jags have expressed a lot of confidence this offseason, particularly in Caleb on Chason. It's going to be an area, Brian, that we know we're going to be watching all throughout the preseason and into the regular season as well.
We will, and it's worth pointing out, I had a conversation with Jaguars general manager Trent Baalke not long ago. There are a couple of other factors to the pass rush. One is Devon Hamilton getting push up the middle, and Foley Fatukasi, who Doug Peterson raved about last night in our television production meeting. If those two guys are pushing the pocket from the inside, and Fatukasi injured the calf in the preseason opener last year and never really got back to full strength. He's had a good camp. That's a factor there. The other is, if the Jaguars have this explosive offense that Pete and you and I and a lot of people expect, playing from ahead instead of playing from behind should create some pass rush opportunities as well.
All those are great points, and there's no question about it. That's why they paid Devon Hamilton what they did, and that's a contract that I think will age well when you look at the defensive tackle market. He himself raved about Foley Fatukasi and how he's looked in practice, and let's not forget, the Jags said he was their number one defensive target in free agency last year, and you're right, that calf injury limited him. We haven't really seen the full impact that he can give this team.
All right, Mike, our player interview this week is presented by Baptist Health and the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute, the official sports medicine provider of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we start with a player you don't know much, if anything, about, but you will. Tight end Garrett Prince signed in Jacksonville in May of 2022 and just went to work. You never saw him on Sunday, but the coaches and players, Mike, saw him on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday as he kept working and he got better. The 6'5" end with arms that seemingly reach from sideline to sideline has been really good so far in camp and could blossom into an important addition to an offense that already has a lot of important components. He's excited, and he knows what it takes to make the jump from the practice squad on Friday to playing on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I came in last year kind of, obviously everyone has high hopes for themselves, and I was hoping that I'll get a chance to play, but got a chance to be on the practice squad, which was a great opportunity for me. Learned a lot from a good veteran group of guys, and now kind of knowing the offense and getting into the role of things, I'm starting to be able to showcase my talent. So I expect to be a player, to be somebody that they can use, and I just got to keep on doing what I'm doing right now.
Tell me about communication. First, in that room, obviously I see you talking to Evan all the time. What do you guys talk about? What have you gleaned from him?
With Evan, he's a great leader. I just try to take in as much as I can from him. While I have him, while I'm with him, I want to learn as much as I can. He's a dude who's been out there, who's done it. I know he can be successful. I know he can help me be successful. So I just try to take in everything and soak it all in.
And how about the communication with the quarterback? And I'm sure you've seen how he and Evan coordinate. How's that going?
Yeah, absolutely. With Trevor, we got together a lot in the offseason and threw together kind of off by ourselves. Went to a trip with him, so we bonded a lot off the field, and that's helped a lot. And he kind of has some more trust in me, and I got to keep that trust going. I got to make sure he believes that he can throw me the ball and I can make something happen for him.
Give me a sense of how training camp has gone and your thoughts on the new Miller Electric Center. It's certainly different than last year.
Yeah, training camp's going really well, and yeah, this new facility is absolutely incredible. They outdid themselves. I love it. We have so much fun up here. It makes guys want to stay up here. You know what I'm saying? So it makes us get together, want to be up here more. I think it'll just be a big benefit to our team.
What's the first preseason game all about for you? What do you hope to get out of Dallas?
Just showcase my ability. Just make some plays out there, run the right plays, do my job, and get the win.
And get off the field pretty quickly, right? I mean, if you're going to be a part of this offense, you're not going to play a whole lot the first game.
That's the plan, but hey, whatever they need me to do, I'll do.
How much time do you think you need in the preseason to get ready for the regular season?
Maybe a couple halves, in there, but we'll see. It'll be good to get back out there, go against somebody else, not our own guys, run our plays against people who haven't seen them a lot, be able to really feel, how we can do in this league.
Where's your confidence come from? You just have this nice, quiet unspokenness, and being a Midwesterner, a Kansas City, and myself, I kind of know, but I think maybe the audience would like to know.
Yeah, really it just comes from just proving it to myself out here every single day. I don't really like to talk about it too much. It's more one of those things, actions speak louder for words than me, and I want to come out here and prove it, and right now I feel like I'm proving it, and I just got to keep it going, and my confidence will keep growing.
Mike, a year ago, the Jaguars struggled in the first half of the season to be effective in the red zone. You go back to the game, the loss in Indianapolis, where the red zone really cost them. This guy is going to be someone who can help them. He's got really long arms and an uncanny knack, a sense of where to be and how to get open, just create enough window for the quarterback to deliver the ball. We've seen it time and again through training camp.
Yeah, Brian, Garrett Prince has had the kind of camp that if you were on another team, or maybe if the Jaguars didn't have Calvin Ridley showing up every day doing great things, that he would be the talk of a lot of teams' camps. That's the kind of impact that he's had. But you look at the tight end depth chart, and you're like, wow, you got Evan Ingram, Brenton Strange was a second-round pick. Luke Farrell probably more of your inline blocking type. But Garrett Prince maybe can carve out that red zone role, but I think it really is a testament to how deep that position group potentially is for this football team. Running back is extremely deep. We've talked about wide receiver. It's not just that they have good frontline skill position players. They've got guys that are pushing them to get playing time.
Here's another really important component. When you have a franchise quarterback, your salary cap is based around him. And everyone knows the Jaguars are going to try to get a deal done with him next year. You have to find players like Garrett Prince, an undrafted rookie from UAB. There are good football players all over America. Hey, Gregory Jr. is from Ouachita Baptist, right? And he's pushing for a job on the defense this year. You got to find these guys because they make your salary cap work.
Well, not only do they make the salary cap work, but Trevor Lawrence is going to make these guys work as well, right? He's going to elevate an average player into an above-average player just simply with his ball placement, the way he runs an offense. So, again, talking about this team ultimately being a destination for particularly skilled position players, I think you can hear how excited Garrett Prince is for the opportunity just to work with Trevor Lawrence, and he will bring out the best in Prince, and hopefully that does result in him being a weapon for this football team.
All right, Mike, coming up in 15 minutes, Jeff Lageman joins us from the booth. But before we get to that point of the broadcast.
Yeah, I got a nice mixture of guys. These guys are hungry. They come to work every day. They love the game. They love to compete. And I'm looking forward to see what they can do.
That's running backs coach Bernie Parmalee to talk about the competition he's had thus far in camp. The Jaguars and Cowboys coming up at 5 o'clock in week 1 of the preseason. You're listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Maximize your energy savings with a new energy-efficient heating and cooling system from Florida Home Air Conditioning today. Get up to $1,750 back and a free Nest thermostat when Florida Home buys back your old inefficient HVAC system. Expert technicians and flexible payment options are great reasons to call Florida Home today. Florida Home Air Conditioning, the official air conditioning partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit FloridaHomeAC.com for details, terms, and conditions.
License number CMC 1250399, CFC 1430664, EC 130-08557.
FloridaHomeAC.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at EverBank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
When it comes to water, choose our team, the winning team. Choose CGC Water Treatment. CGC Water Treatment works, and it works for DG too, former Jags QB, David Garrard.
If you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Discover the Kinetico difference.
Call CGC Water Treatment at 844-CGC-JAGS or visit cgcwater.com. CGC Water Treatment are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars and your local independent Kinetico dealers.
And we return to AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, actually just slightly west of downtown in Arlington, and also live from the Hyundai Studios in Jacksonville. This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Brian Sexton and Mike Dempsey with you, and the Jaguars and Cowboys set to tee up the preseason opener for both teams here at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. The Jaguars arrived yesterday afternoon from Florida, and the Cowboys arrived from California, where they begin their preseason every year out near Oxnard. Mike, the perception of this football team is that it is a high-flying aerial affair. That's what it looks like we're going to see in Jacksonville this fall. However, you and I both know that a quarterback's best friend is the running game. And we know what we got last year when we watched Travis Etienne, 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns, big plays. Now you bring in Tank Bixby. You've got an interesting 1-2 combo setting up in the Jaguars' offensive backfield.
Brian, Travis Etienne averaged, as you well know, 5.1 yards a carry last year. Doug Peterson thought he left yards out on the field, right? And he talked about hitting the hole faster and, being more efficient in that regard. Didn't have a high touchdown total, but did have 5 runs of over 30 yards, showing that explosiveness. Tank Bigsby comes in, and he has looked phenomenal throughout preseason. Now, it is preseason, and you're not going full contact in every practice, but I think the written, kind of untalked about thing is Dearness Johnson's presence on this team. He gives me so much confidence if there is an injury in this running back room. He has shown in his days in Cleveland he could fill in for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and carry the load of an offense with over 20 carries and be very successful doing it. He's going to be a big-time contributor on special teams, but you add JaMychal Hasty as a third down back. I think this core 4 of running backs that the Jags have is as good a room as they've had in a long, long time.
Hey, you could have subbed in this week when I was looking for Bernie Parmalee because you sound like the Jaguars running backs coach. He's excited about what he's got in the room. And the former Miami Dolphin who worked his way into the league has a lot of affinity and appreciation for guys like Dearness Johnson and JaMychal Hasty, both guys who were not highly drafted but who had to find a role for themselves. And he's spending this training camp working with these guys to find out what they do best.
It's really execution. We've been putting in a lot of hard work, in practice. You got a game plan, and that's the time to see what guys can do. So really you just go execution, score points, and see where you are.
How's your room? It's interesting. You've got a couple of veterans, but you got a rookie in there. It's a decent mix.
Yeah, I got a nice mixture of guys. These guys are hungry. They come to work every day. They love the game. They love to compete, and I'm looking forward to see what they can do.
Doug talked about Travis being a 1,600-yard back, which to me seems like a lot. I mean, but he's obviously a big playback. How do you coach him to be that highly productive, big-time yardage back?
Really, it's the little things. I've been talking to him about that. I mean, he had 1,100 yards last year. We left a lot out there on the field. It's about the details. It's about pressing it. It's about understanding blocking schemes. It's about what you do on the second level when you get those options versus those safeties. So those are the things we've been working on. He's been doing a great job, and I believe he's going to be a 1,600-yard rusher.
So what do you expect from year 1, essentially, for him last year, since he missed his rookie season, to year 2? How much of a jump can a guy who's very talented already take?
Oh, he could take a tremendous jump. I mean, a lot of times we see the tape. We know what the weaknesses are. We know what we need to do to get better. He has a lot of room to get better. He's real talented. He's explosive, but we know it's another ceiling to his game.
How does competition in the room make a guy like that better? Because Bigsby, the young man from Auburn, has been electrifying so far in camp. Have you seen some of that?
Oh, yes. We have a really competitive room, and guys know that. Everyone in there want to be the top guy. So really competition makes everyone better. Everyone understands that. Guess what? No one is shying away from that. They're welcoming that, and then they're going to have an opportunity to show what they can do.
Tell me a little bit about Bigsby and what you saw in him when you scouted him and what you've seen from him on training camp field.
Well, I saw a guy that was tough. I saw a guy that put his foot in the ground. He was very assertive when at the point of attack, and he had a nose for the end zone. And you just could see that energy. It was something that we were looking for. Plus, he's big. He got speed. We was looking to add speed to our group. Actually, he can catch. We didn't know if he can catch as well, but then we found out that he can catch. So he wasn't asked to do that at Auburn. But his mindset, he has the right mindset, and he's a culture fit for us.
And then a guy that I think a lot of people may have forgotten because he signed as a free agent, but Dearness Johnson has had some moments out where it's like, well, that's why they drafted or signed him.
Oh, yes. I tell you what, now, Dearness has done a great job. He's a veteran. He takes it serious. He knows what he has to do. He brings things to the table on special teams. He has an opportunity to show what he can do, and even in the preseason, he's going to have an opportunity. So I'm happy that he's in our room.
We talked a little bit earlier about year 1 to year 2 for a specific player. How about this offense in general? And you've been through this before in your career as a player and a coach. What about year 2 in the same system with the same coaches and the same terminology? You've got a really nice mix of that this year.
Yeah, year 2, we're looking to do big things year 2. The good thing is we got the same players. We may have added some, we subtracted some, but the core is here. The guys that we added are smart players. They add to the mix of what we want to do offensively. And also the most important thing is the quarterback, and he's comfortable the second year. And he knows he has a lot of weapons. He has done a great job of leading the team, so we're looking forward to it.
Kind of what we were talking about there, Brian. Multifaceted. You got different things that these guys can do. And I tell you what, right back to the first rookie minicamp I attended for the Jags this offseason, Tank Bigsby stood out catching the ball away from his body with his hands. Wasn't a body catcher at all. And it's interesting, even with all the money put into scouting, Bernie Parmalee is telling you, we weren't quite sure what he could do in that department as a pass catcher. Just because he was underutilized at Auburn in that department doesn't mean he's not capable of it. So I think you've got 4 guys that you can put on the field and feel pretty good that they can accomplish anything you need them to get done at the running back position right now. All right, Brian Sexton in Dallas, Mike Dempsey back here in Jacksonville. You just heard from Bernie Parmalee, the Jaguars running backs coach, as Travis Etienne, he said absolutely could be a 1,600-yard rusher this year, coming off a season in which he had a little over 1,100, but the total yardage number was much higher. If Travis Etienne is running for 1,600 yards this year, could easily be pushing 2,000 total yards. I quite frankly don't know if he's going to be capable of getting 1,600 on the ground, but I think what you're hearing from Doug Peterson and Bernie Parmalee, Brian, is aspirational as to what he's capable of if given that opportunity.
And, Mike, you recall last year the Jaguars, especially in that middle stretch of the season where they were losing the close games, they were missing on close yardage situations. They were not very good in short yardage running game. And so they went and drafted Anton Harrison with their first pick, and then the tight end from Penn State, Brenton Strange, and then Tank Bigsby. It looks as if this was designed to fix just a couple of holes and not just create depth.
Well, you look at what the Colts did in the Bill Polian era when they had Peyton Manning, right? Oftentimes you'd be like, oh, man, that defense just needed help outside of Freeney and Mathis and maybe Bob Sanders. And what they would seemingly do every year is invest heavily in the offense. When you've got a rising star quarterback, the way the league is set up now, you surround him with every advantage you possibly can. Protection, pass-catching weapon, rushing weapon. That's what they did in the first 3 rounds. Despite some holes on defense, make yourself as good as you can around Trevor Lawrence. That's been the philosophy, and I think it's probably the right one.
You got a thought on either Harrison or Strange? Have you spent much time watching either the offensive tackle or the tight end in camp so far?
I've got more of a thought on Brenton Strange because I think we were going to have to see Anton Harrison get into some of these preseason situations where he's going up against guys at full speed. I don't get to see the team portion of practice as much as you do, so I don't have as much of an evaluation on Anton Harrison, but Brenton Strange is a guy who catches the ball very well, moves like a guy who's a lot smaller than he is, and he is as physical as you can imagine out there. And it's interesting because there were so many folks out there that wanted the Jaguars to draft a tight end this year, but he just wasn't the name that was mentioned. But this was a guy that they specifically targeted and didn't want to let get by the second round. He has the look of a guy that who knows how long Evan Ingram ultimately stays here. I know he's in for the next several seasons, but Strange could absolutely, in an NFL where you move your tight end around and ask him to do different things, he has the look of a guy that could be a future starter in this league.
Well, when you just look at the height and weight, the numbers, 6'3", 247, well, that to me sounds like a pass-catching tight end. But when you stand next to the kid, you realize that he is a big, and you mentioned, physical body who can get out and get involved in the blocking game as well as get down the field. He's made some really nice catches in camp so far. Well, if you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, look no further than Ford. Ford F-150, loaded with impressive capability and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between. This truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. At 3 o'clock, it's hour 2 of the Public Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick slides in there with Mike at the Hyundai Studios. But before we get there, Jeff Lageman joins me here in the booth and Mike back at the studios. Jaguars and Cowboys kick off at 5 o'clock in Week 17. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
Flight by Yingling is the next generation of light beer. For those who don't follow trends, but craft them. Flight by Yingling is 12 ounces of uncompromised refreshment from America's oldest brewery. With only 2.6 grams of carbs and 95 calories, this is premium refreshment 6 generations in the making. Don't just raise a glass, raise the bar. Flight by Yingling. Available wherever beer is sold. DG Yingling & Son Incorporated, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please enjoy responsibly.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gates frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the MyGate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
It's game day in Jacksonville, and J-Tech is excited to support our hometown team, the Jaguars. Before kickoff, let's take a moment to talk about an important part of our community, the trades. J-Tech believes that everyone deserves the opportunity to learn valuable skills and build a successful career. They're proud to support the Jaguars and our community by offering high-quality trade education to students of all ages. J-Tech is your hometown trades school. Learn more at jtech.org.
Final segment of hour number 1 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Kickoff of the preseason opener comes up at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Jaguars and Cowboys just over 2 hours away. Hey, if you're a Jags fan who's always on the move, we've got the perfect plan for you. With the bundle at the bank, you can purchase tickets to 3 or more games, starting at just $58 per game. Get the flexibility you want for your time this fall. Visit jaguars.com/tickets or 904-633-2000. Now it's time for the first rounds on us. And Jeff Lageman puts the headset on here in the broadcast booth at AT&T Stadium. Jeff, you've seen them all. There's nothing quite like this one.
Yeah, and it's amazing that I don't know how many times I've been here and you've been here.
In 2009, so we've been
a
bunch.
It's been here quite a few times, and it just never ceases to amaze me how impressive this stadium is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and it doesn't look like it's aged 1 second.
No,
I mean,
it's the 14th season.
It is still in incredible shape. Outside, inside, I mean, it's white glove, and it's cool to see something like this be so special and to be maintained in the proper way.
Right.
And I look forward to the day to where we have something in Jacksonville that we can sit there and look at like I do here with this Dallas Cowboys stadium.
Well, let's just put it.
Let me correct myself. AT&T Stadium.
Right. Yeah. Well, you go back to the 70s when you watched the stadium from the games on the CBS with Pat and John from the old Hole in the Roof Stadium.
Yeah, so God could shine down on the Cowboys.
And watch his team for sure. If there is one in particular reason why today it's such a great example, it's 108 degrees outside here in north central Texas and a cool 72 in.
Yeah,
so,
I was talking to Andre Sisco about that on the elevator at the hotel last night, and I was like, well, isn't it kind of nice to know that you got a little plush AC going inside this stadium? And he said, man, because you have no idea. Because, look, they've been practicing in sweltering heat in Jacksonville, but, 104, 105 degrees, that's downright unsafe.
Unbelievable. For everyone, for the fans in the stands as well.
Yeah, so I'm glad it's inside, and then just, because sometimes it's about me and you.
I'm definitely very comfortable, and it'll be about Mike here in just a minute. Time for UF Health's Finding Solutions. UF Health delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Left guard, right? Last year, Ben Bart starts, doesn't finish the season with the knee. Tyler Shatley steps in. Solid guy, dependable. Now, he's had AFib, and you know something about that, obviously.
I do.
And he's not playing, and Barch isn't ready yet. He's on PUP, which means that Blake Hance steps into the lineup. How do you solve the issue at left guard?
Well, first of all, you'd like to see Shatley get back and be healthy, and I think it's going to be a week or two or maybe a little bit more, but they expect to have him available for the season. And so I'm excited about that because last year, they were looking to try to find a way to replace Shatley after he started, 12 games after the injury to Ben Barch, and he was awesome. They tried to even think about putting Walker Little in at left guard, and Walker Little couldn't take the job from him. So, credit to Shatley. But so I don't look at it so much of an issue as that, there may be some choices to make there, and Blake Hance is a real dependable guy that can play multiple positions. And when you're a backup offensive lineman, if you've got value to play multiple positions, that's what coaches want because on game day, positional versatility is everything.
So, Mike, we're going to bring you in now, and I want to tee you guys both up for a little discussion here. The Jaguars have been about, run the ball forever. We've had great running backs through the history of the Jaguars and played defense. And in Dallas, it's always been about points. So, in the last two seasons, question to both of you, in the last two seasons, the Cowboys have scored 40 or more points 9 times. That's a lot. It's a lot, admittedly. So I said to myself, how long has it been? Count the number of 40-point games the Jaguars have had. Start counting backwards time and go through the seasons. And how long will it take you to get to 9? Any guesses?
A long time.
Yeah, obviously.
7 years.
Okay, you go with 7. You got to give me a number.
I'm going more than that.
Oh, it's more than that.
I'm going to go like 11.
Okay, it's more than that.
It's really...
I started counting, Mike, and I went backwards, and I got to December of 2000 before I picked up 9 games in which the Jaguars have scored 40 points. And the reason that it's relevant here is because the Jaguars appear to be that team that's going to change that. A team. It's changing in Jacksonville this year. Discuss among yourselves.
Well, Logs, let me ask you this. Going forward, how long will it be until they match that number? How many times do you think in the next couple of seasons do you think this is going to be that level of explosive offense that maybe 2 years from now we're saying, hey, the Jags put up 9 or 10 of those 40-point games in that period of time?
Well, I think they're going to be able to do it pretty quickly. But let me just say this. It's always about scoring more than the opponent than scoring 40 points. Okay?
I know, but you're totally right. And it's a bit esoteric, except that they talk so much about this team in Dallas that scored 27.5 points last year and was near the top of the league, and they just put points up. And I saw that, and I went, 9 games with 40 or more points.
Well, and here's the thing. Did they do it with what would be a top 5 quarterback in the National Football League?
No, they did with Dak Prescott.
Right. And look, he's a very good quarterback.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong.
But nobody's putting him in the top 5.
But the foundation of the offense over the last number of years here in Dallas has been the offensive line, okay, and the running attack, and it made things easier for a Dak Prescott. So, and look, I know nobody wants to talk about the Jaguars' offensive line, and there was a particular news sports organization that ranked the Jaguars' offensive line at 31st, okay? Mm-hmm. And look, the Jaguars' offensive linemen and staff, they're very aware of that, okay?
And so I've seen this offense and this offensive line, I think, take it to another level this year. I think Trent Baalke's done a good job of getting depth. I mean, you've got a suspension looming for Cam Robinson that, I mean, you're like, okay, we're just going to put in Walker Little, and we got a first-round pick play the other tackle. And, oh, by the way, we got a swing guy that is in his 10th year, and Josh Wells, who's played and started in this league. Oh, no big deal. How many teams can do that?
Yeah.
You know, so I think that they can get to the point where we say, okay, they're an offensive juggernaut. They're going to score a lot of points because I think the offensive line will be improved. Trevor's going to be so much better in year 2 in Doug Peterson's system. And he's got so many different guys to throw the ball to. I mean, as long as everybody can stay unselfish, which is what they were last year, because I thought that Christian and Zay and Evan last year, it was all about team. And then, you know, you don't want one guy to disrupt that rhythm. And Calvin Ridley seemed to fit right in. So, I mean, you're excited about it, and we haven't even talked about the rookie additions. I know you guys were just talking about Brenton Strange. I love him. I'm with Mike, and then Tank Bigsby. I mean, faster than Travis Etienne. What? Are you kidding me? 2 backs? I mean, so this offense is going to be fun to watch. There is no doubt.
Yeah, and look, we're all excited about everything they've got, but I've got another 40 threshold for you, Logs. What about 40 sacks? 35 last year. I mean, have you seen enough, or do you believe enough in what the Jags are doing and their belief in some of the unproven players that they're going to be counting on this year to think that they can improve in that department?
Well, and the improvement's got to come from within. I mean, if you look at how the Jaguars tried to address or improve the defense in the offseason, it was through draft equity that didn't start until the 4th round. You know, so you're expecting improvement from within. Getting guys healthy, getting guys better, you know, like the young guys like Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, Trayvon Walker, getting them better. Tyson Campbell taking another step. Cisco taking another step. So if this defense can take another step, because we both know that, well, we all three know that sacks are a result of rush and cover, that they can get better from within. And I will say this too. The coaching staff has to get better too. I thought last year they didn't put themselves in the best position at times. Put guys' hands in the ground, okay, let them rush the passer. It just happened to be speaking from experience. I was a better pass rusher if I could put my hand in the ground, pin my ears back, and go, okay. And then you've got to find some help in the back end. You got to find a 3rd cornerback. You got to find a 4th cornerback, and they've attacked that with a numbers approach. And can they do that and have success with that? Sure. You know, maybe one of these young guys steps up. I mean, that's why they have thrown out, like every year, a couple late-round picks at that corner position, but they need somebody to step up there.
Give you a guy to watch as we go out. I think Devod Wilson, who wears 27, a young man from UCF, has had a really strong training camp. Jeff, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Have a great broadcast. Mike, you were way above average today, buddy. When he talks about getting better, you and I can both do that too.
It's only downhill from here for me, Brian, but it's good to be back with you for another year, buddy.
Exactly. A great first show, and I really appreciate the hour. And you got J.P. Shadrick, the consummate professional, stepping in with you, so no doubt you'll be better in hour number 2.
No doubt. Let's go, Jags.
Thanks, Mike.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in New Orleans and Pittsburgh. Watch them win in Houston and Nashville. All the other Jaguars games are just one short connection away. And if airport parking has you stressed, be sure to visit the Jax Airport website before traveling to the terminal. On it, you'll find information about the status of on-airport parking in real time. See if your favorite areas are available or if you need to call an audible. Visit flyjax.com for more information.
It's storm season. and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Hey Jags Nation, it's Andre Sisco, safety of your Jacksonville Jaguars, here to talk to you about Lou Ray Peanut Company. Lou Ray is bringing something to the market that has never been done before, microwavable boiled peanuts. Whether you like salty or a peppery Cajun kick, they've got you covered. Now, thanks to them, y'all can enjoy boiled peanuts at the bank while you watch me and the rest of the team tear it up on the field. Can't make the game? No sweat. Find a bag at a store nearest to you by heading to LouRayPeanut.com/find us. Go nuts, go Jags, and as always, Duval.
Who will your child grow up to be? Well, that depends on all of us. That's why, along with our groundbreaking medical care, Nemours Children's Health supports programs that address issues like food insecurity and the resources essential to learning. It's all part of creating a healthier future for all children. So they can grow up to be whoever they want to be. Nemours Children's Health. Well beyond medicine.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
And welcome in. It's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 2 hours away from preseason week 1. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Dallas Cowboys kick off at 5 o'clock Eastern at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. And here we go. Some actual football or something, Mike, that kind of resembles football.
A reasonable facsimile thereof. Yes. We hope, JP, it's 10 years for you and I.
10.
It's our 10th season.
Happy
doing
anniversary,
the pregame. Sort of, kind of, yeah. So I that's exciting to me. I mean, I never dreamt I'd be in this position to do this for a decade. So looking forward to what we hope will be the best one of those 10 years we've spent together.
Well, there's a lot of signs pointing in the right direction for this organization and this franchise to build upon what happened down the stretch last year and in the playoffs. The new building is part of that as well, and it just seems like a franchise that is trending upward in all areas, both on the field and off.
And somebody hit me up on social media the other day and talked about how Jaguar fans really have something to be excited about for the future if Calvin Ridley is X. I said, listen, okay, there's this guy that wears number 16, and that's all you need for this fan base to be excited about for the next decade plus of what's to come. When you have the quarterback and the head coach in combination like we truly believe the Jaguars have, yes, you need the other pieces around it, but the Jags are working to put those pieces in place. But if you've got the main two, you can do big things in this league, and it's almost impossible to do big things without having those two.
Game day weather is brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Florida's water, it's worth saving. Yes, it is hot in Jacksonville today. It is 96 degrees and an excessive heat warning in this area today. In Arlington, Texas, it's currently 103 with a high of 107 today. Yes, there's a hole in the roof so God can watch his favorite team play football, but it is closed today in Dallas.
Well, yes, he knew the Jags were coming to town. That's why he wanted to see his favorite team play football. Yeah. I mean, look, it's hot. All right, we get it. It's hot. Right? It's August. It's going to be hot. Let's not worry about it. I think the staff knows how to take care of their players, and it shouldn't be an issue for this team. And we're going to play in some hot games in September, so let's get ready.
Let's get to some of today's top stories. And starting with playing time, starters are going today, but for how long, head coach Doug Peterson?
Them to play, to feel the excitement around a game. You know, don't plan on playing them long at all, but just want to get them in, get them out, and but yet still get some quality work in.
Yeah, I would expect, if it's a 3 and out, maybe another drive, 6, 8 plays, somewhere in there, 10 plays, just to get something going, get some guys some touches, spread it around a little bit, keep the quarterback safe, and get him out of there.
A different scenario, but last year Trevor Lawrence threw over 10 passes in this week of the preseason. Travis Etienne had a bunch of carries. We don't expect that to be the case today. I'm with you. if you have one successful drive that results in points on the board, you'd love to stick one in the end zone. But as Trevor Lawrence talked about this week, a clean showing, no penalties, guys knowing their assignments, everybody getting lined up, just look like you know what you're doing right out of the gates. But if they can take the ball in the opening drive, go 8 plays, and put some points on the board, that may be all we see today.
Let's hear what you just referenced from the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence.
You just want to be clean. You want to execute. You want your offense to look sharp. You want to make the plays. You want to be smart, do all that stuff, and just be clean. I think that's the main objective, obviously to play well too, but that's the same thing for whether it's the starters or whoever's in there, to play well and execute our offense, just like we're doing out here. Just carry that over to a different opponent and go win the game.
Well, that's one thing. The starters will be out there. That also leaves a lot of football game for some of these younger players that have had really good training camp practices, but can they do it under the big lights on a big stage? It's a big opportunity for some of those players. Garrett Prince is a tight end for this Jags team, and he's had a big training camp so far, but offensive coordinator Press Taylor wants to see it in action.
Yeah, you just want to see that their anxiety doesn't rise just because, again, there's a scoreboard now, and we're playing against a new opponent. It's never going to replicate the regular season or the playoffs, obviously. Everything gets amped up as it goes. But from what we've seen from Garrett, you just want to see that carry over. And last year I thought he had a good preseason, and that kind of raised some eyebrows for us of just, all right, this guy can continue to do it. Had a good year on the practice squad for us making plays. So our expectation of him is that he can perform at this level. Now, you want to go see it against a new defense, like I said, and just see it continue to carry over and continue to grow as he moves closer to the season.
We've heard a lot in this training camp, Mike, about the depth of this tight end room. We know Evan Ingram, of course, Brenton Strange. So many names that are starting to really surface, and Garrett Prince is one of those. He's had a really good camp. And, I guess it's going to come down to special teams. Are they going to keep 4 tight ends or an extra running back? They could switch that as the season goes along. But performances like Prince is having will have him in that conversation, no doubt.
Well, I talked with Brian Sexton in the first hour, JP, and said it weren't for maybe Calvin Ridley and 1 or 2 other guys, Garrett Prince would be the talk of training camp. And in a lot of places he would be, looked at as the breakout player. And you look at this depth chart, you say, well, okay, what does a breakout look like for him? Maybe it's 4 or 5 touchdowns, right? I mean, that would be a lot, right? And just use him as a red zone weapon and get some value out of him that way. But you're giving Evan Ingram a lot of money. You know what his role is in this offense. You invested a second-round pick in Brenton Strange. Garrett Prince has got to fight for his, but at 6'5", 240, he is built like, the modern NFL offensive weapon at the position. And he's taken advantage so far. And while this is not going to replicate what you get in the regular season, it is a step up in competition today. So let's see him take what we've seen on the practice field out to Dallas today.
I left off Luke Farrell, of course, and they, I think, feel like he's probably pound for pound their best blocking tight end of the group.
He's kind of right. He's every once in a while you're like, oh yeah, they threw the ball to Luke Farrell in practice, right? But he's more of the, like you said, the traditional inline guy, the blocking tight end, so to speak. And I just have a hard time believing Garrett Prince will not be on this football team unless the rest of his preseason goes disastrously wrong.
The Jaguars' defense returning all the starters from last year, though the third cornerback spot is still up in the air early in training camp. The league's leading tackler last season was Jaguars middle linebacker Foye Oluokun. And he was asked this week how he resets goals after another league-leading campaign.
Win more games, do whatever I need to help the team win. I could be a better tackler. I could be a better facilitator out there. I could break better for sure. I could understand coverages better. All the lists are out there to see that it's room for me to grow. Every day I'm coming out here trying to improve my game, trying to prove that I'm still growing in this league. I'm still becoming a better player.
Well, he is a fantastic player, obviously leading the league 2 years in a row in tackles, a veteran player, and now to a second-year player who was the number 1 overall pick last year. And can he take that step in the right direction? Of course, we're talking about outside linebacker Trayvon Walker gearing up for season number 2 and building upon what he learned a year ago.
I'm not really stressing about work, learning the plays. I know the plays. Basically, I'm just taking it, like I keep saying, I'm taking it to a new level. So basically like algebra to pre-cal, just add on to my game at this point. I know the scheme. I know things that I need to work on. So coming in from the offseason, try to take those things that I was learning in the offseason and complementing it to my game now.
Trayvon, I was told there would be no math in this show today, but here we are. But it's a good point. All that base of knowledge is there for him now, and he can just focus on ball, and this offseason was dedicated just to the craft.
Listening to those 2 players back-to-back there, right, you realize with Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma, Trayvon Walker, these are rookies that Foye Oluokun basically babysit might be too strong a term, but had to make sure that they knew what they were doing on a down in, down out basis. Their comfortable, assessment of where they are in the defense right now, can free up Foye Oluokun to be an even better player, which is hard to believe. As you mentioned, he led the league in tackling 2 years in a row, led the league in tackles, says that's an area he can improve. But I think he's going to be freed up to just play his game a little bit more this year.
Obviously, special teams will be under the microscope in these preseason performances, with those roster spots really coming down to the big performances under the lights in the preseason for a lot of young players. And wide receiver Tim Jones has been in that ballpark before. He understands the approach needed each day while working on special teams in the preseason.
The first and most important thing is, every single day you got to come out and attack, man. No matter if you're feeling, down or up, whatever it is going on, it doesn't matter. You got to come out here and, earn your job every single year. And especially, in a person like me in my situation, undrafted, that same situation every single year, it doesn't matter.
Undrafted player a few years ago, a second-year veteran. He has been on the practice squad. He made his way up to the regular roster last year, and wide receiver, that fifth, sixth wide receiver, up a question mark this year. And Tim Jones will certainly have a case.
I think it's one of the best position battles, if not the best, on the entire team right now, JP. When you look at all the guys that have had an impact battling for that spot in training camp, a lot of guys have stood out. If you presume Parker Washington makes his team as a draft pick, your backup punt returner as well, then you've got maybe 4, 5, 6 guys legitimately battling for that one spot.
There you have it, some of today's top stories, and it's not too late to become a Daily's Place Blue member for the 2023 season. Reserve your premium seat membership or individual luxury experience and enjoy concerts at Daily's Place with guaranteed seats in the best locations, premium parking, a VIP entrance and club access, and so much more. For more information, email ticketing@boldevents.com or call 904-633-2000. Let's head back to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Jaguars reporter Kai Stevens in the broadcast booth, and preseason week 1 is here. Good afternoon, Kai. How are you, first of all?
JP, I'm good. I miss talking to you. It's nice to hear from you.
It's been one whole day, but we're back at it.
It's been a long day.
But here we are. So this Jaguars team is ready to show off a little bit finally. They've had training camp practices in the heat and all that, but it's all building up to finally preseason week 1. We've heard about the starters going. We'll see how many plays they get. But that leaves a lot of football game left, Kai, for a lot of these young players to get something going and try to make this team.
And that's what the entire game is going to end up being about, right, is seeing what we have from the young talent on this team. They had a ton of draft picks this year. They had a lot of undrafted free agents, and this is the time for them to come out and shine and show themselves. Anton Harrison going to start at right tackle. He will be with the ones, but he'll probably play a little bit longer, according to Doug Peterson. And so this will be our first look at him in an actual game. And he's been talking about, we talked to him earlier this week, and he's been learning a lot from actually Brandon Sheriff, who's someone he grew up watching, and also just being a sponge and absorbing everything from those players around him.
That was a guy, watching him growing up, he played for my hometown team, so watching him growing up, the all-pro that he is, now playing beside him, is great. Trying to learn from him every day and just copy what he do every day to make myself great. I'm always asking questions, no matter if it's a little question, big question, I'm always asking them guys, and they always got an answer for me, and they always open to it, so I'm never going to hold anything back, so if I have a question, I'm going to ask it. So it's been big, and they just always been my support 100%.
That's exactly what you want to hear from a young player as well, that they're trying to ask, trying to figure out, trying to grow, figure out the NFL game as quickly as they can. And, of course, that offensive line group is just one of the best groups on the team, certainly, so they're helping him move along as much as they can. And we're going to see him in game action for the first time today.
Kai, I had a chance, and we'll hear a little bit later the conversation I had with Josh Wells this week, the 10th-year tackle who started his career here, went down to Tampa Bay, and has now come back this year. They've kind of formed a relationship. Harrison, that's no lie what Harrison just said. He's picking Josh's brain every day, and it's part of Wells' role here to kind of give back, and they've told him that, hey, we're helping these young guys along, and yeah, you don't want to hide in the corner if you're the rookie. Take advantage of these veteran guys around you, and that is certainly a group to do it. What about the defensive side today, Kai? What do you want to see out of this group outside of the starters? There are some position battles, some roster battles on defense today.
There are, and I think also, not to get away from the rookies because I'll touch on that, but you want to see the second-year players, right? As much as Trayvon will play, as much as, Chad Muma, Devin Lloyd will play, you want to see them out there just to see, maybe even if it's only a couple drives, if there's any difference from last year. We've talked about hoping to see a big second-year jump from those guys. But in terms of the defense for me, some of the younger guys, I would like to see a little bit of what they do with Antonio Johnson just because they've used him in several different places and then also on special teams. So that's someone I'll definitely be keeping an eye on and just seeing what he's been able to do. A lot of the coaching staff has been impressed with him so far, so how they will utilize that in the game.
Kai, we'll look forward to hearing you on the sidelines today on Jaguars Radio, and we'll talk to you a little bit later in pregame. How about it?
Thanks, JP. Talk soon.
Kai Stevens from Arlington, AT&T Stadium, and we're about 15 minutes away from the list of players that will not dress in today's game. Not officially inactives. They don't do that until the regular season, but the same idea. Up next is Jim Miller of SiriusXM Radio on the expectations for the Jaguars entering 2023. It's a 5 o'clock kickoff time in preseason week 1. The Jags and the Cowboys coming up. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Taylor Dahl here for Renewal by Anderson. You will love your new custom windows and doors. For a limited time, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. The first 50 callers get a free upgrade to TrueScene window screens. Plus, easy payment plans tailored to fit your budget. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
When you show your home love with a natural gas water heater, it loves you right back with more cost-efficient, endless hot water.
Hon, hurry it up, please.
And right now, you'll love earning a cash rebate up to $700 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas water heater.
We're going to be late.
Again.
What? Did you say something, hon?
To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Headquartered in Jacksonville, Florida, CSI Companies partners with leading organizations across the country to deliver workforce solutions. As a proud sponsor of your Jacksonville Jaguars, CSI crafts personalized operations to fuel the success of businesses, both big and small. Whether it's finding the right talent for a job or seamlessly managing a project from start to finish, CSI has over 3 decades of experience in getting the job done. This is your Workforce Solutions reimagined. Visit CSICompanies.com.
Everyone wins when 2 great traditions team up. Yucatan Guacamole is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Our authentic guacamole recipe starts with hand-scooped avocados and ends up in your hands fresh and ready to enjoy. Grab some on game day at the Yucatan Cantina or Yucatan Nacho Carts around the stadium or at local retail stores. Sack your snack game with Yucatan Guacamole.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios as the Publix Tailgate Show continues. We're inside 2 hours from preseason week 1. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Dallas Cowboys coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, the site. Well, it's week 1 of the preseason, of course, around the league. There was a Hall of Fame game last week. That counts as the HOF week. This officially preseason week 1, and a slate of, 6 games today around the NFL?
Yeah, a bunch of games at 6, including the Jags and the Dallas Cowboys. And probably nationally the most interesting tidbit here is you reflect back on Week 17 last year when the Bills were playing the Bengals, and Damar Hamlin suffers a cardiac arrest on the field, and the game ultimately gets canceled, and Hamlin is fighting for his life and able to make it back to health. Well, he's made it not only back to health, but back onto the football field, and he's playing today for the Buffalo Bills, which is pretty miraculous. Credited so far with 3 solo tackles in their matchup with the Indianapolis Colts. So wanted to mention that, but certainly of interest to Jaguar fans is how the quarterback battle is playing out for the Colts. Anthony Richardson, the rookie, got the start today, went 7 of 12 passing for 67 yards, an interception. He ran it a couple of times for 7 yards as well. Did not put any points up on the board for the Colts. Gardner Minshew, the former Jaguar, comes in and finishes the first half 6 of 6 for 72 yards and led a drive that resulted in a Jake Funk 1-yard touchdown plunge right before the half. The Bills lead this one for what it's worth, 17-13 in that. Over in Chicago, Tennessee taking on the Bears today, and the Titans leading it by 3, although really it was the Justin Fields show early on for the Bears. 3 of 3 passing for 129 yards and a pair of touchdowns, one to DJ Moore, another to Khalil Herbert, both of them going for at least 56 yards. Malik Willis got the start, kind of the forgotten man there for Tennessee, just a third-round draft pick last year. Now you've got Will Levis coming in, and people are wondering how far he'll ascend up the depth chart. Of course, Ryan Tannehill not playing today, but the Titans lead the Bears 17-14. Other games to come today, including Jags, Cowboys, include the Jets at the Panthers, Eagles at the Ravens, and the nightcap tonight is the Chargers at the Rams. Already a bunch of finals from this first full week of the preseason. The Texans knocked off the Patriots 20-9. And again, another rookie quarterback in the AFC South, C.J. Stroud, only 2 of 4 passing, had protection issues, threw for only 13 yards, had an interception, quarterback rating of 17.7. So shaky debut. DeMeco Ryans, his head coach, said saw some things that they liked, but a work in progress, obviously, there in Houston.
There's your look around the National Football League, and the start of the league season is just around the corner, and we can't wait for you to be back at the bank. The Jaguars entertain the Miami Dolphins in a preseason matchup Saturday, August 26th. Lock in your seats now at 904-633-2000 or visit jaguars.com/tickets. Former NFL quarterback Jim Miller is a co-host of Moving the Chains on SiriusXM NFL Radio, and he visited Jaguars camp this week as part of their camp tour around the league. And I caught up with him after the show Thursday and asked him about his impressions of the Jaguars headed into 2023.
This is, I think, my 11th one. This team stands out. You know, this is the only team that we've gone to, Pat Kerwin and myself, that they return all 11 starters on defense. No other team can say that in the league. And they're an impressive group in how this team has been built. You know, adding Ridley, you know, last year adding Christian Kirk, and just the playmakers that are here and extending the guys that were necessary. Here, Evan Ingram comes off a record-setting year, and he's in the mix and career highs for everybody, just how this team is grown. And they're young, and they had 13 draft picks, which is going to be hard for those draft picks to crack this lineup. I only think there's probably going to be 2 or 3 contributors. We would think Anton Harrison, the tackle, because of the suspension of Cam, he's going to get a lot of playing time. I think Bigsby, the running back, will get a lot of playing time. And I like the safety, Antonio Johnson. You know, minimum, he's going to be a special teams contributor for this team. But they stayed healthy last year, I think, is a key for this team. They look very good and poised to take another big jump. They got to beat the teams that they need to beat. And then, of course, there's those bugaboos in the AFC that you're going to play to see where you stack up. And that's going to start early with Kansas City, who you faced in the playoffs. I think later in the year you got a good quality game against Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cincinnati later in the year. And those are going to be good tests for this team. And everybody's going to say, oh, they shouldn't beat Kansas City. I just think this team's up for the challenge. I really do. They could get off to a good start here.
Year 3 for Trevor Lawrence. Throw the rookie year out the window. It's really year 2 for him in this offense under Doug Peterson, Press Taylor, everybody around him, the weapons to go with it. And you just kind of see it slowing down for him, right? There's that base of what they did last year in the offense, and now they can build upon that with different routes, and you're adding Ridley to the mix. For Trevor, Pete Prisco, CBS Sports, picked him as his MVP this year. I don't know if you're going to go that far, but it could be a big year for Trevor.
I'll tell you what, man, the jump he made last year, one is a credit to Doug Peterson, who played the position. I think he's a great influence on him. Obviously, Coach McCoy, the quarterback's coach here, he's coached some really good quarterbacks. Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers. So he's got some good knowledge to share with him. And you could see it happening last year. When you go to double-digit touchdowns compared to the turnovers of what it was the year before, I think that says a lot, and he's clicking. And he doesn't get sacked. I think this team only gave up like 28 total sacks last year. I cover the Bears. They gave up 55. Justin Fields was running for his life out there, and Trevor, it does. It seems like just from what I saw in practice, he looks better. He looks polished. He's going to be another, and it's all in the AFC. All these young quarterbacks are just talented, and he's definitely in the mix.
The talk around this camp is that the difference that Calvin Ridley could make on all these other playmakers. He's been out of the game since 2 seasons ago, where he played only 5 games, of course, suspended last year. It's a contract year for him. He's got a new place. He's got a new quarterback. He's got everything to play for, and the motivation's not going to be an issue for Calvin, but what can you truly expect from Calvin Ridley?
Yeah, I think, again, he'll reemerge, and he just seems to be in a good spot mentally. When I talked to Coach Peterson earlier today, just his energy level, what he's brought to the team, all the bumps and bruises, like he had a foot issue that he got corrected as well, and he just seems to be in a really good spot. And I think everybody knows the talent is there. And he has the talent, and now he's got the mind in the right place where it needs to be, where he could lead this team in receptions. You would like to think it would be Kirk again because he's getting a lot out of slot, but really will be a big-time playmaker here.
Jim Miller with us, Sirius XM Radio. AFC South, the Jaguars won the division last year unbelievably. They were down 4 in the standings. Tennessee collapsed. Jaguars couldn't lose toward the end, and it came down to the final week to get it done. All these wild comeback wins. It's really not feasible every year. You don't want to rely on all these comebacks. But a lot of people are saying the Jaguars are the favorites now. They're a fumble away from not winning the division last year in any of the last 5 or 6 games. Where does it stand for you in the AFC South? Are the Jaguars the clear-cut number 1 team? Does Tennessee still have some punch to them?
No, I think Jacksonville is the clear-cut number 1. I think they're going to be better offensively for all the reasons that we just mentioned. Granted, the offensive line has the shuffling of players. We'll see where that goes. But the playmakers are there. The quarterback's where he need to be. I think where the bigger jump is going to be is on defense. They finished 24th overall on defense. And I played with Mike Caldwell. And so he's obviously a Todd Bowles disciple. I just think they're further along with their communication. I think Josh Allen is poised to have a big year. He threw out the number of 15 sacks is what he's going for this year. And it just seems like they're, being together, the whole entire unit. And that, towards the end of last year, they were 6-1 down the stretch. But there was that 4-game span between week 14 and week 18. Everybody's like, hey, where are the sacks? Where are the sacks? But they let in pressures. They let in quarterback hits. And I think they're going to start off like how they finished a season ago with just how much more experience they'll have in this Mike Caldwell defense.
It is amazing the perception and the total defensive rankings. They were 24th, as you said. But they're only 30 yards away from being in the top 10. Right. You make one little adjustment on defense, a few guys get better here or there. That's what they're counting on as development. All of a sudden, you're a top 10 defense. Perception changes a lot of the narrative.
Well, those quarterback hits that I mentioned, those probably will turn into sacks now. And again, it goes back to my conversation with Josh Allen today. He said I would go home, I'd watch myself on tape, and I was just a hair away. And he says, I'm taking it to the next level. The communication with his fellow members on defense, even if it's the safety Jenkins, and how everybody's going to play it to control their gaps where they can just play a lot faster and maybe make those plays in the end.
Jim Miller, Sirius XM NFL Radio, visiting camp this week. Hear that conversation on the official Jaguars podcast network. It's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts, and on Jaguars.com. That's a free website, Mike. You can click the podcast link at the top of the homepage. In about 15 minutes, a fantasy forecast from Mike Dempsey and Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. Up next, we'll most likely have a list of players out of today's game, plus a pregame Huddle Up podcast. Bucky Brooks and John Oehser joining us from Dallas. We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff. The Jaguars and the Cowboys coming up in preseason week 1. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Brooks Rehabilitation is hiring nurses who want to be empowered as advocates, educators, care coordinators, and leaders in exceptional patient care. They have open RN, LPN, HHA, and CNA positions across their inpatient, skilled nursing, and home health care settings. Join their nationally recognized team, where you'll serve as a central team member doing what you do best, providing exceptional patient care. Apply at careers.brooksrehab.org.
Over 40 years ago, I made a decision to help people. Might sound simple, but following your passion never is. Big ideas tend to get bigger. What started out as one lawyer's vision is now a team of over 400 with an obsession. Today, protecting you and your family is more than a job. It's a way of life. Over 40 years ago, we set out to build a law firm. It's clear now that what we've built is so much more. I'm Eddie Farah, Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl here for Renewal by Anderson. You will love your new custom windows and doors. For a limited time, buy 4 windows or patio doors and get the 5th free. The first 50 callers get a free upgrade to TrueScene window screens, plus easy payment plans tailored to fit your budget. Offer expires August 31st. Restrictions apply. Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit rbafla.com. License number CGC 1527613.
Everyone circle up. I know it looks rough out there. Sure, we're down 24-6, but we came here to play differently. We need a game changer. Something like Ring Central, the business phone system that's more than a phone. I want you to communicate like you can talk to anyone, anywhere, all from the same app. Now get out there and play like you're using Ring Central.
Ring Central. Simpler communications.
America, it's time to gear up and get out there in a new Ford vehicle. And it all starts at your local Ford dealer during the Discover Summer Sales Event. Choose from a great selection of Ford trucks and SUVs equipped with the tech and comfort you need to discover your best summer ever. With a large inventory in stock, now is the best time to trade in, trade up, and discover summer with Ford. This is your time to discover summer at your local Ford dealer.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Jaguars and the Cowboys coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's preseason week number 1. Well, a few players will not dress for today's game. There's no official inactives in the preseason. Everybody's available for all teams, but the Jaguars do have a few players that will not suit up today. Tyson Campbell has been in concussion protocol last week. He will not dress today. Foye Oluokun will not dress for the game today. Tight end Samus Reyes, who was also in the concussion protocol this week, will not go. Tyler Shatley is out, had the AFib situation, has not practiced since then. He's been off to the side. And Willie Taylor III, the outside linebacker, those players are down for today's game.
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe we'll get to see a little Yasir Abdullah, who was the third member on that list of guys in the concussion protocol, was in the red non-contact jersey on Thursday. And this is one of the young players I think most people are excited to watch in the preseason, JP, to see if he can provide some of that pass rush spark. So hopefully that means he'll get a chance to get out there today.
Let's go to Arlington, Texas. Again, AT&T Stadium. We welcome in NFL Network and Jaguars preseason TV analyst Bucky Brooks, regular season radio field analyst, and Jaguars.com senior writer John Ozier. It's a pregame huddle up for the first time in 2023. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we?
What's up, guys? What's happening?
Well, we're going. It's time.
It's here. Here it is. Just about an hour and a half away from kickoff. All right, Bucky, what's the number one thing you want to see out of today's game besides the first-team offense be efficient?
I want to see if we have the potential to go from good to great this season. And the way that you're able to see that is how efficiently we move around. The execution, is it on point from beginning to end? Even when the twos come into the game, does everybody have a clear understanding of what is expected of them? Do they fly to the ball on each side? Fly to the ball on each side of the line of scrimmage? And then do we make plays? Because to be a great team, you need to have guys outside of the ones that can step up and make plays. So I want to see if some of those things show up today.
Well, I don't have anything as cool as good to great, but I'd like to see the rookies, Bigsby, Harrison, Brenton Strange, Abdullah, as Mike mentioned. I think Abdullah being active today is really cool and really encouraging because he was in the protocol. I think you'd like to see if you feel like you can get some splash and some impact out of those guys in the first half of the season. I usually don't think so. But Bigsby, Strange, Abdullah, they're guys who could matter. So you'd like to see them look the part, and I have no reason so far to think they won't.
Kind of following up on the Abdullah thing there, John, just that we're looking to see beyond Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, and really Walker himself not proven in this department, who's going to provide the sack numbers for this football team this year. I'm curious to what you guys think. How much will a second year in Mike Caldwell's scheme, the younger players that are coming back being more familiar with what they're asked to do, Devin Lloyd maybe taking on a larger role there, and some of these other young unproven guys, do they have enough to improve what they did last year in terms of getting after the quarterback?
Well, to me, you've hit on the major storyline, and because you need to have an answer in radio, I won't say I don't know, because I don't really know, but I think it has a good chance to be a better defense than people think because of what you're talking about, Mike. Josh Allen's been talking about it all year. They bring every starter back. The only really major loss is Arden Key, and obviously he was pass rush, so everybody listening is saying, well, that's a big loss. But I do think the second year under Caldwell's scheme and the fact that I believe they will play with more leads this year. Even when they were good last year, they were trailing in the second half of the season a lot. They were a comeback team. It's hard to rush the passer when you're behind. So I think the pass rush will improve off of that. And then I think overall, because they are more used to the scheme, you will see them be more solid up front. The front seven will be more stout against the run, and all that should play into them being a more disruptive defense.
It should play into them being a more disruptive defense, but really a lot of it falls on Mike Caldwell. This is the second year as a play caller. He should be more comfortable in terms of just running the operation, but also knowing the personnel that he has at his disposal. A big part of being a coordinator and a coach is understanding how to call the game to the strength of the personnel. Now that we talked about every starter returning, now you know exactly what you have. You should be able to put plans that allow your playmakers to make more plays.
And, JP, you heard him say this too. Josh Allen certainly has been vocal that he thinks that will be a major area of improvement under Caldwell this year.
There's no doubt about that. That's John Oehser, Bucky Brooks. They are at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Bucky, how do you defend this Jaguars offense?
Well, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because you have a lot of interchangeable parts, a lot of interchangeable playmakers that can get it done in a variety of ways. Calvin Ridley comes over, and we'll try and temper expectations about what he will be, but he's the number one, and he's someone that we haven't seen in a Jaguars uniform in a long time in terms of a true number one that will command double teams, that has the ability to really set the table for everyone else on the offense. And so when you have him out there, it should make life easier for Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram. And then with Travis Etienne out the backfield, the Jaguars should be able to attack and stay in attack mode, kind of playing with the hot hand each week. But make no mistake about it, as we get closer to the regular season, Calvin Ridley will be the number one. He'll be a big part of the offense as the focal point of the passing game, and then everyone else will kind of fall into a more natural pecking order based on their talents.
Yeah, I'm usually the temper the expectations guy. But, Mike, as you and I talked about this week, it's tough to temper expectations with this offense, and Ridley's a big reason. I think he's going to be explosive. I think he's going to matter to Trevor Lawrence and give him easier looks everywhere. I think defenses are going to have to account for him. And, I've said this all offseason. With the draft, with drafting Strange and drafting Bigsby, all of a sudden you've got the options that Peterson had in Philadelphia when it was a very versatile offense. This looks like that, and you've got 5, 6, 7 guys who are skill players who you wouldn't be surprised if they're the quote-unquote player of the game after the game. Any of those guys can score a couple of touchdowns in a game. As good as offensive personnel as they had in the 90s, as good as they've had at times, I don't ever recall a case where you had 6 or 7 different guys who could take over the game, and that's not counting Trevor Lawrence.
You look at storylines for today's game, I think a lot of people are pointing to the offense getting off to a quick start with the first team being out there, Dallas's reserves. But I think, guys, this is a theme for the overall season. Slow starts last year offensively put them behind. Yeah, they had some great miracle comebacks, and they're capable of doing that. But do you feel that all these pieces in place, the comfortability level of guys being more familiar with what Doug Peterson is asking of them, and Trevor Lawrence's maturation is going to result in those faster starts where maybe they could put pressure on opposing teams to play catch-up in the second half this year?
Well, yeah, I mean, that is ideally the way that you want to play. You want to play fast. You want to play from ahead, because what it does is it forces the other team to not be a balanced offense. And so that plays to the strengths of the Jaguars, because now you have a one-dimensional team that has to throw it. You have playmakers in the back end who really are solid in terms of taking the ball away. That's how the Jaguars want to play. You want to put all the pressure on our offense with Trevor Lawrence and the weapons, because that should be the strength of the team. And so each and every week, the magic number is 30. The Jaguars need to hit 30 points a game offensively to have the game going and dictate the turns the way that Doug Peterson wants to do it.
Well, they're sure focused on it. And if there was a thing that Trevor needed to improve on after last season, it was the consistency, which I think speaks to the first half, because he seemed always better in the second half. So I think the consistency, that's where you should see it. If there's going to be a jump, you should see them coming out faster. You should see them dominating. It has been their theme all off season. If they don't do it today, am I worried? No. But it would make my inbox a lot nicer, JP.
Yeah, right. No holds barred in the inbox. That would have led the league last year, by the way, 30 points per game. That would have been number 1 in the NFL in scoring.
Well, Bucky, I think they have a chance to do that. I mean, it's I always try to temper expectations, but when you add Ridley to a quarterback that we feel like, as good as he was in the second half of the season last year, you really felt like he was just scratching the surface. And if he's going to be Trevor Lawrence, number 1 pick, face of the franchise, face of the NFL, there's still a long way to go. If you make huge strides, add Ridley, add Brenton Strange, who I think is going to be good, add Bigsby, maybe not 7 points a game to get to 30, but should they be averaging 28-ish and hitting 30 a lot? That's what they need to do to be the team that fans are hoping for.
No, getting to 30 is critical, and you can't underestimate bringing over the kicker, Brandon McManus, to knock it down, because it's important that you're able to get those 3 points, because what it does is it changes the way that you can call the game. You can be more aggressive when you feel like you can get to certain areas of the field, maybe the 40, the 35-yard line, because you know that you have a sure 3 points. When that frees you up to be daring and to do double moves in the shot zone and to go after it, because you know that you have those 3 in the bag. And make no mistake, being able to add a high-end kicker to an offense that has the potential to score points, that's how you get over 30. It also is the kicking game being a big part of it.
The shot zone, JP.
Yeah, dial it up,
we heard
baby.
It.
Dial it
That's
up.
a huddle up term right there.
Let's go. Bucky, have a great game today on television. We'll look forward to watching.
Hey, man, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and John, we'll look forward to reading whatever it is you do today.
Whatever it is I do. Thanks, guys.
Jaguars.com, of course. Check out Jaguars.com senior writer John Ozier and the weekly Huddle Up with Bucky Brooks show Wednesdays at 4 on Jaguars.com and the Jaguars YouTube channel. We are inside 20 minutes away from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starts at 4 o'clock Eastern. We'll return with a fantasy forecast, and we'll hear from Frank Frangie coming up. The Jaguars and the Dallas Cowboys coming up at 5 o'clock Eastern. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping fans gear up for game day with the limited-time Jaguars sub. Piled high with hot deli chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, cheddar cheese, coleslaw, and barbecue mayonnaise on a white sub roll. The Jaguars sub is an easy, delicious meal for any fan. Make it an ultimate game day by ordering the Jaguars sub online for in-store pickup. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit ridesmartflorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
It's storm season, and JEA is committed to keeping you informed. In the event of a storm, we'll text and email you about the status of your services. We use Facebook and Twitter to post real-time updates. Our live outage map on JEA.com lets you track restoration progress. And as crews work to restore services, our storm outreach team will be in local neighborhoods to answer your questions. Because as your community-owned utility, JEA is here to keep you safe and connected. Your community, your utility.
Hey, it's Salem from Travel Camp RV, the official RV dealer of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I wanted to personally invite you to come shop with us. With locations throughout the Southeast, we're likely not far from you. We offer the nation's top RV brands. You can expect value pricing from the get-go and guaranteed best financing options. You can also find us online at travelcamp.com. Our mission is simple, to help more families make more great memories in an RV. Travel Camp RV. We've had the pleasure of doing this since 1982.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Who will your child grow up to be? Well, that depends on all of us. That's why, along with our groundbreaking medical care, Nemours Children's Health supports programs that address issues like food insecurity and the resources essential to learning. It's all part of creating a healthier future for all children. So they can grow up to be whoever they want to be. Nemours Children's Health, well beyond medicine.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios. The Jags and the Cowboys coming up. Preseason week 1. It's a 5 o'clock Eastern time kick. How about a fantasy forecast? Preseason, Mike. What you got for us?
Well, it's not about what the numbers are going to be for the Jaguars or the Cowboys or anybody else in the preseason, but it's about roles being defined, I think, and there's some interesting ones that we have to watch here for these two teams today. None more so than the backfield for the Jaguars. Travis Etienne right now is being drafted in the 4th round of fantasy drafts on average, and you hear Bernie Parmalee say, hey, this guy could be a 1,600-yard rusher. But then you watch, and what your eyes are showing you is that Tank Bigsby is really excelling on the practice field. He's going in the 11th round on average, and is an interesting flyer later in drafts. Could he be the goal line back for the Jaguars? He's built for it. He's got breakaway speed. If he gets a couple of series to himself in games, maybe he provides a little flex value in your fantasy lineups. But I think the biggest thing is how big of an impact is he going to have on Travis Etienne, and maybe we'll get a little sense of that depending on how well Bigsby performs here in the preseason. Calvin Ridley, JP, I've been drafting since basically the Super Bowl ended, right? So Calvin Ridley, you could get him in the 6th round, early in the offseason, 7th round. Now he's creeping into the late 3rd round in fantasy drafts. If you're drafting in Jacksonville, Florida, be prepared to spend a 2nd-round pick on him. I was in a draft with a Jaguar fan who took him with the 2nd pick of round 2 very recently, and I think it could be justified. He's going off the board as wide receiver 16. I think he has a chance to break into the top 12 and be a wide receiver 1 for fantasy this this year. Others for the Jaguars of note, Trevor Lawrence going right at the end of the 4th, early 5th round, and with all the weapons around him, he may be a bargain as the 8th quarterback off the board on average. Evan Ingram going in the early 7th round as the tight end 8. I do worry that he won't consistently get the looks week in, week out with so many other ways they can go with the football here. Christian Kirk as a 6th-round pick and Zay Jones in the early 14th round, and Zay has looked phenomenal. Couple of storylines for the Cowboys to keep an eye on. Tony Pollard won't be playing today, but takes over the lead back duties in the absence of Ezekiel Elliott. In point per reception leagues last year, Pollard finished as the running back 7 overall. So, with a similar workload, I think people are expecting a top 10 performance from him again. Brandon Cooks comes on board to play opposite CeeDee Lamb, which is a benefit to Dak Prescott, but a lot of vacated targets at tight end with Dalton Schultz leaving and signing with the Houston Texans. From the folks I've spoken to in Dallas, Jake Ferguson is probably the name to keep an eye on, at least for this year. He's not a priority target in your fantasy drafts, but if you're looking for the most productive Cowboy tight end, Ferguson is the one that they're betting on locally.
There you have it. Some players to watch in the preseason fantasy forecast. Let's go back to Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium. Voice of the Jags, Frank Frangie, is standing by. And finally, Frank, football is back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and good afternoon, JP, to you and Mike. And you're exactly right. Gosh, it's exciting when football comes back. Even if we don't see the starters for a long time today, they're in uniform, they're playing a different team, and I can't wait to get started here in Dallas. Very excited about it.
How does this team, this organization, this city handle expectations after what happened last year?
And that's the question, isn't it, JP? The storyline of this offseason is this has not been a franchise that's had great expectations going into a lot of seasons, both internally and externally. And that's what they have now, and that's a different paradigm. And I agree with you. That's the storyline. I think the football team's going to handle it well. I think the fact that the culture has been built, I think one of the best things, most important things Doug Peterson did, JP, when he got this job, is he earned their trust. And he earned the players' trust in various situations. And the latest one is you go into a season, pick to win the AFC South, pick to have a very good football team, pick to have an explosive offense. And you got to kind of live up to that, and you got to manage the moments when it doesn't go so well. But I think they're ready for this. Being around them like we all are every day out there, I've got a good feeling about how they'll handle that.
Frank, Bill Barnwell at ESPN did a piece recently on guys who may really break out here this season, and including players that may go from really good to possibly the best at their position. And the first guy he listed there was Trevor Lawrence. I know this may sound crazy, but have we talked enough about how much Lawrence's own improvement is going to lift everybody else up on this team this year?
That's a great point, Mike. You're exactly right. We almost take for granted there's Trevor. Let's talk about these other guys and this other stuff, and that's a very good point because I think he's going to take that step. We kind of saw it last year about mid-season on. He wound up having very good numbers, as you know, Mike. 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Struggled a little bit at the first half of that Chargers game. He knows that. We all know that. But here's what we've seen in that AFC. When Patrick Mahomes gets going and when Josh Allen gets going and Joe Burrow gets going, it elevated those franchises to levels they hadn't seen before, certainly very often. Well, I think the same thing can happen here. I think it's going to be one of the most explosive offenses in the history of this franchise. And you're right. I think Trevor takes a gigantic step, and who knows what that leads to, but I think it's very good stuff.
Frank Frangie with us from Arlington, Texas. Some questions right now on the offensive line, Frank. Left guard spot. Blake Hance is going to get the nod today, at least to begin, with Ben Bart still off to the side, Tyler Shatley off to the side for the last few days. And then, of course, the left tackle situation, Walker Little and Cam Robinson there. You got a rookie at right tackle and Anton Harrison. So there are some at least early training camp questions, and it feels like it might just shake out once the regular season starts happening here.
Yeah, but you're right, JP. That's the one thing on offense it's been clunky because Cam Robinson's down for 4 games. That's not going to change. Tyler Shatley has not been able to practice for a little bit here. We know that. Ben Bartz hasn't been able to practice yet at all. Those are the 2 guys battling for that left guard spot. Walker Little can't spend a lot of time at left guard, even though he may wind up there eventually this year because he's got to play left tackle. And Anton Harrison, who you're real excited about right tackle, has had a shoulder. So that's the one spot. I think we kind of know maybe what some of the answers are going to be eventually. But for now, yeah, it's clunky, isn't it? Because those guys have missed some time. That's why a game like this is important. JP, I think you're going to see Walker Little and Anton Harrison longer than the other starters. My guess is you see a series or two from Trevor and Ridley and the rest. But I think you're going to see a little bit more time from those offensive linemen for the reason you just stated. Let's see what we've got there, because that's the one area that's been a little bit uncomfortable. I agree with you.
And Frank, we think this team overall is going to be very good this year. And when that happens, you go into training camp, and there are always going to be guys that can battle for spots on the roster. But the majority of the roster, the vast majority, is probably set in the minds of the coaching staff. They know who the key guys are going to be on this team. So what are the players on the margins? Who are they that you'll be looking at, not only this week but for the next couple, in terms of battling for those last couple of spots?
Yeah, Mike, to me, there's a handful of spots. I think the last running back, the fourth running back, Dearness Johnson, I think Tank Bigsby's going to be the number 2 back. I think JaMychal Hasty's going to be here as the third down back. I think battling for that fourth spot between Snoop Connor, who they had drafted, and Dearness Johnson, who they went and got, I think that's worth watching. I think the final wide receiver, if you ask me to guess, I'd say Parker Washington and Tim Jones, because they love him as a core 4 special teams guy. But there have been some young receivers, and you know this, Mike, you've been out there every day, that have had really good camps. Can they push the envelope a little? And I think the backup defensive backs. We've got a very good safety room with Antonio Johnson being the 5th guy. Do they keep all 5? And who are going to be those backup cornerbacks? Can a guy like Gregory Jr. push Trey Herndon at the nickel a little bit? And who are the 5? So I'd say the final cornerbacks, we talked a little bit about the offensive line, and I would say that running back spot, who gets that last spot. I think those are the ones. What you said is correct. We know most of the 53, I think. And when you have a good team, that's the way it is. You know most of the guys. But, yeah, there's a handful of guys, and I think starting with today, these next 3 games are going to be very important for them.
Oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
You know the roster, yes.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
All the starters are back on defense. Frank Frangie with us from Arlington. Have a great call today. Football is back. Enjoy it in the indoors in Texas.
We will for sure. Thanks, guys.
It's 106 degrees in Dallas today, so they are playing, of course, indoors at AT&T Stadium. And I think that last point is excellent. It's not this has not been the norm over the last 15, 17 years for this franchise, to be in a place like this where pretty much the starters on both sides of the ball. It's really about the depth in the 53.
Which is amazing that they ended up spending 13 picks on rookies this year, right? I mean, just how can all of those guys make this football team? We'll find out.
Up next is Jaguars Radio Network coverage and countdown to kickoff. We'll have the top stories of the day prior to the Jaguars running back Fred Taylor and the final word before kick with head coach Doug Peterson, the Jags and the Cowboys in just over an hour. And thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
As the official supermarket of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Publix is helping